Hello everyone, my name's Karen Scobie. Welcome to Running for Beginners, things I wish I had known when I had started to run. What else we'll be covering in this talk? After my introduction and explanation of how I got started on this running journey, I will tell you about the number one thing to learn as a new runner, and I will share some various tidbits that may help you. I'll then explain how to reach a 5K goal, and I will share some resources that you may find useful. Who am I? I'm a physician assistant currently working in Geilenkirchen, Germany. I've been in the forces for 22 years, a PA for 5 years, and a runner for the past 4 years. Who I'm not a coach, a trainer, or a physiotherapist. Why does that matter? It matters because I'm here today as a community member who started running later in life and learned several lessons, sometimes the hard way. I have an avid interest in running, and I do a lot of reading about various aspects of the sport, including injuries, but I'm not formally trained to coach or prescribe training plans. I'm not here as a representative of the Canadian Armed Forces or the Royal Canadian Medical Services, and the information that I'm sharing with you is to be used at your own discretion. Not everything will work for everyone, but I'm hopeful that you'll get something out of this presentation. So we start with the funny. This is a conversation that's often in my head, more so when I was starting out, but sometimes now too. So you should go for a run. No, we hate running. That's not true. You love to run. No, we ran yesterday. Running makes you happy. It's raining today. No running. Go for a run right now. We said no, that's final. Okay, good. I'll go get your shoes. So in 2013, I was employed as a company sergeant major in Edmonton, working with about 100 medical technicians. I had the bright idea that I'd participate in the annual Mountain Man competition in order to prove to my troops that I could do it and to hopefully set an example. Now at the time, I couldn't run 500 meters without stopping and gasping, but I persevered and I finished the competition respectfully in the middle of the pack. I consider myself an adult onset athlete. I never participated in sports in school, and I avoided running whenever I could, even after I joined the Army. I was 37 years old when I learned to enjoy running, and I have now participated in 2 marathons, 7 half marathons, countless smaller distances, and 1 triathlon where I finished solidly in last place. I love the mentality of the last phrase on this slide, that I get to run, that I don't have to run. I enjoy running because I can do it now, because once I couldn't, and maybe someday in the future I won't be able to anymore. I had to take 6 months off last year for a stress fracture, and my husband and colleagues will tell you how miserable I was during that time. So I often say that starting is the hardest part, but continuing can also be difficult. Sometimes it can take several starts for it to stick. Now my introduction to running was on basic training, when it was run as hard as you can and try and keep up, and puking was a sign of success, at least for the instructors. When I started in 2013, I tried running like I had been taught, going out hard, coming up short, which is why I had to frequently stop and gasp for breath. It truly took a couple of years for me to learn that I had to slow down to get better and faster. I'd like to share some things that I learned along the way. Learning to run slow is one of the hardest lessons to learn. Easy running is critical to building endurance and speed. Running at a conversational pace develops your aerobic capacity. Too often, new runners will do all of their runs at an anaerobic speed and will end up exhausted and unable to build endurance. There's a good article at the end that explains this much better than I can in this forum. How do you know if you're training easy enough? There are several different ways to tell, starting with being able to hold a conversation with a running partner without gasping after every few words. Are you a solo runner? Me too. I do most of my running alone. I learned about a year ago to breathe through my nose to make myself slow down. It was hard and definitely took practice, but eventually I learned, and I use it to help regulate my easy pace, although it is much harder to do when I have a cold or when it's windy outside. Another modality is heart rate, but I want to give a caveat first. Heart rate is not always a good predictor of cardiovascular fitness and should not be relied upon to gauge your easy pace. Many variables can affect heart rate, including sleep, caffeine, stress, hydration status. That being said, I sometimes use it as a tool to try and keep my runs easy, but I don't fuss if I can't keep it at the rate I desire, despite slowing down. I imagine that I can hear you asking, but if I always run easy, how do I get faster? As a beginner runner, it's important to learn how to run easy and develop your aerobic base. However, you can add in some speed work to your runs. The easiest is to add strides to the end of your run. Strides are 4 to 6 sets of 20 seconds of running at 80% of your max capacity. They're not an all-out sprint, but are much faster than your easy pace. At the end of your run, you can stop and stretch for a minute, and then start the strides. Take the first 5 seconds to work up to your speed. Run for a total of 20 seconds, and then take 2 minutes to recover between each set. I usually walk until I get my breath under control, and then jog easily for the remainder of the rest period. Another way to add speed is to do fartleks. Besides a funny name, a fartlek is a Swedish word for speed play. They can be structured or unstructured intervals where you run fast for an interval, recover, and then repeat. An easy way to add them to your run is after you've warmed up by running easy for a few kilometers. You pick a landmark, a tree, a fire hydrant, a mailbox, a fence post, you get the idea. Somewhere up the road that you'll run fast towards, then recover, and then pick another landmark and keep going that way for a few minutes. Start with just a few intervals, 1 run a week, and expand from there. If you're running on a treadmill, do the same but use timed intervals, 2 to 3 minutes of faster running to start with a full recovery. You can do timed intervals on the road too, of course, or distance intervals. For example, 1 to 200 meters slightly faster with a full recovery. The 80-20 rule means that you do 80% of your mileage at an easy or recovery pace, and the rest is for workouts or speed work. In practice, if you're running 20 kilometers per week, roughly 16 of them are easy, and the other 4 are strides or intervals. I mention it to give you an idea of how important it is to focus on easy running as you begin. As you improve, you'll start to add the intervals and tempo runs. Another difficult lesson I had struggled with is to not compare yourself to other runners. You don't know how long they've been running, and everybody can handle different paces and distances. I understand the feeling of not wanting people to see you out there running slowly. I felt the same way, and have only in the past year gotten over it, with occasional setbacks. Hand on my heart, I guarantee you that people don't care. Seriously, I'm going to say that again. People do not care how slow or how fast you are going. If they're looking at you, they're likely in one of 2 groups. 1, they're couch potatoes and are admiring you for getting out there, or 2, they're runners and are wishing that they're out there with you. When you see a runner, do you judge their speed? Probably not. You're thinking, good for them. Another thing that I learned the hard way was that I need to do a proper warm-up, especially at my age. Because I'm not a fast runner, I wanted to fit as much of my run into my available time as I could. I was reluctant to take the time to warm up, but now that I do, I notice that my runs are just a little bit easier. I still skip it sometimes, but it finds it takes me longer to settle into my rhythm. A very good routine is called the lunge matrix, developed by Jay Johnson. I'll give you the link for the video, but essentially you take about 3 minutes to do 25 lunges in different planes or directions to get your muscles ready to run. If you add another minute for leg swings, then you've activated the glutes, which are essential for running stability and strength and are protective of your knees. Strength training, including mobility and balance, should not be neglected. A strong core, meaning not just your abs, but also your hips and your shoulder girdle, will go a long way towards injury prevention and will make you a stronger runner. Hip strengthening and conditioning will create a stable surface for each step of your run and will prevent inward rotation of the thigh bone, which causes the knee to collapse inward and can cause knee pain. A strong upper body and good posture will help with good form, will stop you from rolling your shoulders forward and bending at the waist when you run, and will help with your breathing and prevent excessive rotation and loss of energy. Foot strength and mobility is essential for injury prevention. We have about 20 intrinsic muscles in our foot that support our structure and our weight, and we tend to forget how to engage those little muscles. This is partially due to wearing constrictive footwear much of the time, and for some people, due to becoming reliant on orthotics with arch supports. Our feet become lazy and stop doing what they're designed to do and can cause collapsed arches. Pronation is essential for forward motion as it creates a spring that returns energy. Two exercises I like for foot strength are the foot shortening exercise and toe yoga, and links are at the end. Yoga is great for runners. I'm sure some of you are snickering or rolling your eyes at this. I did too at the beginning, and I still don't do it as often as I should. When I manage to do it, I feel so much better for having done so. I find it hard, and I'm not very patient, and I'm not very good at it, but I know it's for the greater good. Runners, especially road and treadmill runners, as well as cyclists, move on a single plane, forward and backward. Adding to the problem is that many of us are desk workers and spend much of our time sitting. The rest of our muscles get neglected, and this can lead to decreased function and injury. Yoga addresses these imbalances and helps to open up our hips and shoulders, as well as strengthening our back and core muscles. There are many resources available for you to practice in your home. You don't need to worry about finding a class or feeling silly. There is a subscription app called Yoga Studio. You can have a look on YouTube for free classes, or there's a website that I really like called doyogawithme.com. It has hundreds of free videos, and you can filter what type of class you'd like to do specifically, such as a beginner class, a class under 20 minutes, or a class just for runners. Just a brief comment on changing your surfaces. Trail running is great for adding variety and strength. You get more side-to-side movement and can work on your balance. And getting out in nature, away from roads and traffic, is always a good thing. You can also add some barefoot running on grass during your cool down. Goals are important, especially if you are a goal-oriented type of person. I don't specifically mean a goal race, although that is what works for me. Some other goals are to run a set distance at once, or a certain weekly mileage or time spent exercising, or an annual mileage goal. Having a goal keeps you going through the hard runs, early mornings, and soreness. Training partners, whether in person or virtual, are also great motivators as they help to keep you accountable. It's important to start slow, to keep your mileage low, and to remember to take rest days, even if you think you don't need them. You need to let your body recover from the stressors of running and to adapt to the changes that you're asking of it. It can take up to 3 years for your body to adjust to all of these stressors. Rest days can be 100% rest, or you can use these days to do some of the little things. Many beginners, including myself at the start, try to avoid walking at all costs. They feel like they are failing as a runner, or that someone will see them and judge them. Walk breaks can be essential in your success. Even a small 10 to 15 second break can reset your system and allow you to keep going. I do them often on an easy run if I find that I'm getting too fast for my goal effort that day, and I have taken a short break, or multiple, on every distance that I've raced. Jeff Galloway formalized the walk-run method, and I'll include an article explaining it at the end. He does structured programs that work. He's coaching people running into their 80s and 90s. During my second half marathon, there were a couple of ladies using this method, and me in my arrogance said, I can beat them. So I would pass them during each walk, and then they would surge past me on each run as I was struggling and gasping. Because I refused to walk. That would have been an admission of failure, right? Well, they finished quite a bit ahead of me, and I was truly humbled. Running by effort instead of by pace is something that I've started recently. With all of the technology available to us, we've become tied to our watches or running apps and tend to focus on what pace we are running. This can lead to angst while running and will affect your performance. We look at our pace and see that we aren't running that magic number that we think we should be going. It's faster and we think that we're going to blow up and not be able to maintain it, or it's slow and we berate ourselves for not doing better. Like heart rate, so many variables will affect your performance on any given day. When you learn to run by effort, you're getting in tune with your body and letting her tell you what she's ready to give you that day. So I challenge you to turn off your notifications on your watch, set the screen to distance for time, and don't look at your results until you get home. Some days you'll surprise yourself, and some days you'll see that your pace reflected exactly how you felt that day. If you're doing intervals, you can still program them into your watch, but just let the beep or buzz let you know when to speed up or slow down. Don't look at the time. This also applies to racing. Ditch the watch and just focus on the race, on how you feel, on what's happening around you. You'll enjoy your running so much more, I promise. An adage that I like is run the mile that you're in. Well, kilometer for us metric users, but it doesn't flow as well. It means to focus on what you're doing right now. Don't worry about the next mile or kilometer or the final stretch or that last interval that you struggled with. Along the same line is the phrase, run your own race. This is getting back to the comparison comment earlier. Focus on what you are doing and don't worry about what everyone else is running. I wanted to take a minute to talk about running for weight loss. Cardio is not the magic ingredient to lose weight if you do not fix your diet as well. It is a good adjunct and is good for your overall health, but weight loss begins in the kitchen. Using the excuse that I ran today so I can eat what I want will not get you the results that you want. While I know this sounds preachy, I can testify. In 2006, I weighed 200 pounds, and I lost the excess weight through diet alone. As I mentioned, I hadn't started running until 2013. I've gained 20 pounds since moving to Germany, despite all of the exercise that I'm doing, because I haven't been focusing on my diet. The Couch to 5K is a good beginner program to try out if you're looking for some structure. There are a couple versions available on your app store, the 5K Runner or the C2 5K. You can pick a local race as your goal if you'd like, or simply follow the program as it is. If the app doesn't look interesting to you, an option is to follow the same premise. After a good warm-up, run for 1 minute, walk for 90 seconds. Next time, you'll run for 1 minute, walk for 1 minute. If this is easy, next time, walk for 2 minutes. If this is easy, next time, run for 2 minutes, walk for 1 minute. But if you struggle during that session, or any of the sessions, either return to the previous interval or repeat the same interval. Don't push forward if you're struggling. This also applies to those using the app program. Don't be afraid to repeat a session if you're struggling with it. Slowly progress up to 9-minute run, 1-minute walk. Here's some articles that expand on much of what I've spoken about here. And these are the links for the videos for the warm-up and hip strength. I hope you've gotten something out of this talk. Even if you have one takeaway that you'll implement, my heart will be happy. Here's my email. I would love to hear how your running is going. Thank you for your time. Happy running.